Kind of needs to be like, all right, guys, we are here for our first pod, and
Yeah.
we're gonna figure things. I don't know, something like that. Perfect. Well, welcome in everybody to the Brick by Brick podcast with your hosts, the Brick Shed, Noah, Yellow Brick Road, Richie, and myself, Jason from Kiwi Brick Exchange. We are doing this podcast as a form of therapy and also to chat through all different things to do with Bricklink, Lego selling, and Noah's Tire service, which you'll be seeing later in the vlog today. So we're going to be discussing a number of different topics and having a bit of banter. And what we always want you to do is let us know in the comments what we should talk about, because otherwise we're going to sit here and fumble our way through every week. But should we get into it, lads?
Let's do it.
Do you have to give up your love of Lego as a Bricklink owner or Bricklink seller and being able to build yourself? Because I've kind of got into things not from that perspective. My daughter was enjoying it. I thought that might be cool. And now I'm kind of sitting here with a number of little brickheads on my desk with a whole bunch of instructions that I've just bought off Rebrickable going, I can raid my store quite nicely for this little Star Wars mock I'm doing. But then at the same time, I'm looking at the value I'm taking out of my store going, why am I doing this? So I wonder how much it is when you get into Bricklink where you actually just have to go, it's no longer my fun building hobby. But then it's some people use their Bricklink store to fund that. But
I like the idea of looking at it as you're just finding fun in a different aspect of Lego, right? Sure, I don't get this bulk standard building fun of it and having it on display fun of it, but I get to see so many things that I wouldn't have seen elsewhere. Like this guy right here, the I can't remember his name, but the lava monster guy from Power Miners.
power miners, yeah.
I would never have bought a Power Miner set if I was still buying Lego, but so I would never have been able to hold this guy. He's $100 once I've got the other two of these coming. I got another one as well, but I think I saw this and I was like, oh, it's just such a cool figure, and that's the enjoyment I get out. I also get the enjoyment out of being able to say, oh, got $100 figure. Didn't expect to get that in a lot.
Here it is, yeah.
And I love finding out new pieces of information that I didn't know before. We've all got so much weird knowledge of the prices and the values and where things come from. And so, oh yeah, that came from this random set and this theme from this specific year, and it's worth this much money. And I had no idea that these guys were $20 a piece. I now know because I had to buy two to complete him, but I find enjoyment in that aspect now. I don't know about you, Richie. What do you reckon?
Well, I think it does change your relationship with it. I think we've talked about it before. Kind of go from like I used to collect every single Star Wars set, and over the period of time, you kind of wheedle it down. You kind of start looking at them completely different. Into a battle pack was something you hoarded, not parted out, because people are going to want to just buy the figures or stuff like that. But then I think for me, it's become more about the sets you want to collect. And are they necessarily the rare ones? Some of them are just ones I really like. Or, you enjoyed Rogue One so much that you've got the one Rogue One set that there is type thing. So I don't think you have to give it up, but I think it definitely changes your relationship with it because you know, if you're building something, you're probably thinking about what the value in it is from a part out point of view, or at least, do I want all of this or just, I wonder if you're a minifigure collector, if it's even harder.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. When I was starting to do Bricklink and learning more, like you're saying, about Lego and I'm finding this, my big, fan things that I enjoy is Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. So that quickly ruled me out from being the collector. I was like, oh, I'd love a Helm's Deep creation and the full. And then I'm thinking, well, I could buy a house. That's kind of the the alternative. So maybe we go down that way. So it does kind of, I guess, temper your expectations when it's certain themes and stuff. Now I'm quite comfortable with my daughter being into Lego Friends. Yeah, it's much
The,
much nicer on the
the
wallet.
ideal theme,
It
to
is.
that helps the pocket. Um,
Although she saw some of the little elves, little creatures. She's like, I really like those, and I said, no, you don't.
I think most bricklinkers come from their journey is collecting Lego and then realizing that it's really expensive to buy Lego and then trying to find a way to support that hobby, um, without breaking the bank. And oh, boom, Bricklink, I can off the stuff that I don't want to sell anymore or that I don't want to keep anymore, and I can use Bricklink to buy all the other cool things that I do need. Um, I I didn't find Bricklink first. I found just selling Lego on Marketplace, and then I found Bricklink. But yeah, I that was my journey of just trying to fund my own collection, and now I have no collection because all I have time and space for is a store. I think you got to choose. You can either
It's
have
time, yeah.
a massive cool man cave of displayed sets or lots of drawers with Lego pieces. Which one do you want? Where
Richie, how did you fall down the rabbit hole?
Oh, how did I get myself into this? Well, long time ago in a galaxy.
roll credit?
Get the credits going.
Uh, it was rebuilding sets. So I had like tubs of old sets, which invariably would have had a million missing parts. So I was rebuilding them to sell them so I could buy the boxed version of them sealed. And was absolutely rubbish at using Bricklink because for some reason, every order I did, if you had it in either new or used apart, if you just did a buy all, it would populate both new and used. So I ended up getting like if I needed two dishes and I had it as didn't mind if it was new or used, you'd end up with two new and two used. So I ended up with all these parts, which meant I ended up needing to buy some drawers to house them. So I was a bit more organized. And then at some point I ended up with four of them. And it was like, I might as well just start selling this stuff myself. I'm never going to need all of this stuff. And that was kind of the trapdoor.
I really liked Lego, and here we are. No, I only was into Lego as a kid. I've only just stepped out of the being a kid age group, unfortunately for you guys. Um, but all I was into was Lego. I had my dark years when I was just becoming a teenager, probably like 12 or 13, from 12 till 15, I was just like, I just didn't give a shit about it, and it all got boxed up and put into the shed. Unfortunately, I was not a smart child and only was into City Lego. A man has fallen into the river in Lego City. And not into the awesome Star Wars sets that would be worth lots more money now, if I'd been collecting during those years. But I digress. We live and we learn. We now know that we buy the Star Wars sets because they're good. Anyway, I was really into it. And when I got back into Lego when I was about 14, 15, it was just um, trying to find sets that I couldn't get on the shelves at Target, realizing, oh, there's Facebook Marketplace, there's Gumtree, and I was really into Harry Potter. And I was like, oh, I've already got a lot of Harry Potter sets from some from Lego that I'd buy at op shops. My grandma would always buy. She saw a box of Lego, she'd always buy it. She's like, "Oh, it's that's a good toy. It keeps him away from the computers and the internet, so I'm gonna buy him lots of Lego." So I was already building up sets out of bulk lots like that. I already had the mind for it, I already was like, yeah, I need to resurrect these sets out of this bulk. I wasn't selling it; it was just to for fun. And then I really wanted to collect all the Harry Potter sets. Thought that was a good idea. I realized, they weren't that expensive, and I already had a few. So I then started messaging people on Facebook Marketplace, and I was using my birthday money, using my Christmas money, as a kid would do. I was very independent as a child, so I was traveling across the state by train for many hours to get the good deals. Um, and and then I hit a point where I was like, oh crap, I have no more money, but I still want to buy these sets. But I have a lot of Lego that I don't need. So I was like, well, I'll just do what these guys are doing. I'll take a picture of it. I'll put it up online. I don't know what half this stuff is worth. Um, I had no idea what Bricklink was. I didn't know how to price things. I was like, I'd use eBay a little bit. I knew what that was. I remember I I got given by a friend uh 20 of the Utapau battle packs sealed. I got given. He said, I found these in my shed. Here you go. It's Star Wars. I didn't know Star Wars. I wasn't into it. I saw a small Lego set, so I sold them for $10 each. It was probably the quickest sale that went through. Like I put it on Gumtree, and somebody messaged me and was there. I put it up late at night. It was like 11 p.m. and somebody said, I'm an hour away, but I'll come right now. I'll buy more. I'm like, fantastic. That was $200 for me. That was good money.
You want to know what the current price is?
Go
Yeah,
on.
go on, hit us.
Last 6 months sales,
Sealed, sealed.
sealed sets, average $130 each. Not quite as bad as I was expecting, but like minifigures individually,
Yeah,
40 each. And
yeah.
there's what, four? So you're looking 160 per, you know,
Stupid, stupid.
it's that inflation.
So that was I remember that sale only because once I did find out about Bricklink and I found out about Star Wars Lego and I saw that battle pack and I'm like, I had 20 of those. And I saw the price and I was a bit disappointed in myself. Um, I'm sure I did that with a lot of stuff that I don't remember. I remember having great things and it wasn't on my it wasn't in I wasn't into that stuff. I've only gotten into, all of these amazing pop culture kind of stuff because of Lego. Um, anyway, so we've gotten to that point of I can sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace to buy stuff that I want. And then it was I needed to buy somebody put up 5 sets. I only needed one of them. They wouldn't sell me just the one, and I realized, hey, I can just buy this lot for like a little bit more than what I would have paid for the set, and I'll sell the other stuff and I'll make a profit. And then the gears start turning, and the little gremlin in me or the golem in me starts, thinking about all the money that I can make. And I think that was where my brain switched over from I love Lego to I love money. I've evened myself back out now, where my love of Lego and love of money are kind of equal now. But then it was just approaching it not from a I'm trying to collect Lego way, but it was approaching it from a I'm doing this as a business. I want to make money. And then we got to me in high school. I was still doing it. Very, when I say doing it, I was, buying and selling a couple of $100 a month, maybe. And I'd acquired a lot of Lego. I had a really big parts collection from all of those op shop hauls that my grandma would buy. So I probably had maybe, 60, 70 kilos of just bulk that was sorted because my grandma loved sorting Lego and she would just sit there and twiddle away. And it became really useful early on having just a massive parts inventory for nothing. And then I started high school, still doing it. I met my friend Harrison. He was buying and selling pop vinyls. I was buying and selling Lego. We got to talking. I told him, Harrison, listen here, mate. Listen to me here. There's no money in this. In pop vinyls, what are they? This is just plastic. Oh, wait, Lego. Oh, hang on. Um, and I convinced him that he should stop that. Let's join forces 50-50. I've got a ton of Lego. I'm buying and selling it. It's going okay. I was making money at like it was like more money than I knew what to do. I didn't have a job. It was, I had money in my bank account and I didn't have a job and it was like, whoa, crazy. So he started, he was more kind of smarter in the business side of things at the time. I really didn't care about it. I was just into the Lego and I still had that love of Lego as we were talking about. So it was more, I was still enamored about all the pieces that we were getting and finding the cool stuff. We found Bricklink. We started buying on it to complete sets that we were doing. We'd buy bulk. It was just us buying bulk lots, resurrecting sets out of them, selling the sets on Facebook Marketplace, and then putting the bulk into our parts to complete sets. And we found Bricklink. We used it to complete sets, and we realized, oh crap, we got plenty of these parts lying around. Why don't we give this Bricklink thing a go? We'll just on the side, just a little thing, just a couple. I found just a brick in the bucket, Pop's Block Shop, a couple of other Ralph's Bricks, all of the YouTubers, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. They're doing something fun. I've got a lot of parts. I'll put them on Bricklink. Started listing them. No idea what I was doing. Bought a couple of your average, your drawer units, your 60 drawer units. And the plan was just to have it in the background while we focused on sets and minifigures on Facebook Marketplace. 5 years later, we now have 310,000 parts, and here we are.
I didn't. I played with Lego a little bit. I have vague memories of owning sets and things. And I feel like there would have been Star Wars ones, but I can't remember what, so I feel better about not having them anymore. But I've always been a collector, mainly trading cards when I was younger, and I probably should have stuck around with my Pokemon card collection because when I sold it about 7 years ago, it was about 2 years before all of a sudden it went up, and I'm pretty sure I had a full base set and a good condition Charizard, which could be a close to a house deposit these days. But we'll pretend like that hasn't happened. And so I was always a collector. When I was a uni student back in a while ago, not as long as you might think, I needed money because I was poor and I was working and I was poor and paying money for a piece of paper, which worked out well in the end, and decided that I'd start selling stamps. So postage stamps, vintage stamps, antiques. And so what I'd do is, and it sounds quite similar to what we do in Bricklink, is I would buy a bulk lot. I'd get the bulk lot in. I'd sort through all the stamps and try and identify them. And it's just coming to the point where there was like an online platform or like a paper catalog. And so you'd open up the paper catalog and after doing it for a couple of months, I kind of figured out what year it might be from, and I might get one. And if I was really lucky, I got one that was worth like 50 cents or a dollar. And I put that in a big bulk lot. And it'd be like 20 or 25 of them, and I might sell that on Trade Me for $1 or $2. And every so often, I'd get one that would go really well and sell it for $20. And then I got better at that, and then I sort of parked it for a while. And then a couple of years back, probably sort of out of COVID, thinking about, doing a bit more with my time and hobbies, I picked it back up, was a bit smarter about it, buying stock books, which used to house big collections, and then I'd break those collections down into certain parts, identify it, etc. So it would take me per stamp probably about 10 to 15 minutes to identify what stamp it was, whether it was worth any value. Sometimes you could find the catalog value, which we have a catalog value on Bricklink, and if you're lucky, you got 10% of that catalog value selling through Trade Me. Got to the point with that, I'd actually made some okay money with it and went, there must be something better. So I started looking around, watching lots of thrifters. Didn't really like the idea of going into just op shops and trying to scope out every shelf and try and, find things. I saw that's going to take up a lot of space, even if I'm finding good things. The things I was interested in, I was probably going to keep anyway, and didn't really know what I was doing. And throughout that process, stumbled across a video on YouTube, and it was Keith from Brick Arena, and he started talking about this Bricklink and selling Lego. And at the same time as he's literally talking on a video, my daughter's over to the side playing with a Lego set that we'd bought, and I just thought that whole week, geez, that's expensive for a bunch of plastic. That was kind of my perspective at the time, and like you were kind of saying, I think my love of Lego has increased the more I've done Bricklink, which is good. But that kind of got me thinking, okay, well, I wonder what happens when people are finished with their Lego. All right, some of these parts might be worth a bit. And then I found Bricklink. And Bricklink covered off every issue that I'd had with stamps. There was an online catalog. Not only was there an online catalog, it told me exactly what it had sold for in the last 6 months, and I could filter it to my region, which was just mind blowing because I'd done all that work manually before. I'd get this 6 month average or close to it. Some parts would go up in value, which was mind blowing because everything was there. My target market was no longer dying, quite literally. The people I was selling to were some really awesome people who I connected with in the stamp community, but they were twice my age, which was quite scary. And so all of a sudden I realized that actually, while I enjoy stamps and I collected stamps myself, it was no longer as enjoyable. And I'd got to the selling and I'd kind of parked that. And so I started looking at Lego and I found out that there was this thing called a part out where you could take the pieces from a sealed set, split them into their parts, identify them, and all of a sudden they were worth more than that set. Retired sets that go up in value and all these different things. People who create their own Lego. I never knew about that 2 years ago. And so I just went full in the rabbit hole all the way through all the YouTubers that you could possibly talk about. We even there was a couple that need a shout out over here who were called Build a Brick, I believe. I've got their business cards somewhere, sitting on a desk somewhere. We'll have to find that for a later pod. And they were doing a YouTube series like we do, and there wasn't a lot of people watching it. It was a bit staticky camera and sort of audio was missing for a couple, and they got better and better. And by the time I'd got through all their vlogs, their last vlog that I got to, which was 6 months ago, you kind of felt like they were stopping. And so that all parked up. And so basically, I started with absolutely no Lego whatsoever. I first of all thought, okay, I've got $100 to invest. That's all I had. I didn't want to spend more than that. I was still running stamps at the same time. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take $100 of what I've got from stamps, and I'm gonna buy a bulk lot on Trade Me. And I thought, I don't really have space for the parts, and I don't know about these parts. I was like, maybe I'll just try for like those figure things. I don't even know what they call them. So I bought a whole bunch of minifigures, as I found out, and in that haul, which I think was worth about $100, I found $400 in minifigures. And the crazy thing for me is, it would take me however long to identify that one stamp, but if I spent 2 minutes and identify the minifigure, I could get the value very quickly. Or even better, I could use my phone, I could scan it, it would tell me the exact thing it was in the price. So that blew my mind and realized that actually that was probably a better use of my time. At the same time, my daughter was getting a lot more into it, was demanding more sets, and I was thinking, how are we going to pay for this? So started with that and then slowly built up. So what I was doing initially is, selling on Trade Me over here, which is kind of like eBay, where I buy a bulk lot, like you guys were doing. You're finding pieces or whatever and you're reselling. And very early into that, probably about within 2 months of doing that on Trade Me, I was learning more about Bricklink and thought, you know what, I'll give this Bricklink thing a go. So bought, I think I had two organizers to start with, and I bought about 4 or 5 of these. I'll have to find it somewhere, but my origin photo is me holding up one of these as my Lego inventory. Like, look, I've got inventory, just one. Somehow I got approved, which was amazing. Um, and then just went from there. Just took everything that I got and was reinvesting. And the amazing thing for me for Bricklink is I could upload it once and it would stay there. Trade Me or eBay auctions, you've got to constantly redo them and redo them and redo them and redo them. And I do it once. So it's a perfect side hustle for me because if I don't have time in a week to do anything, my Bricklink store is still there. It's still open. I can go away for 3 days and come back to 12 orders. It's wonderful. There's no physical that I need to do. And, there's more things that we find with Bricklink where we can notify customers directly who want that specific piece for what that price. And so I found a lot of way doing that. And if you watch the vlogs from the start for my ones, you see me slowly take over a lounge to the point where my wife has somehow managed to give me a bit of a room to actually do things, which is where we're sitting in now. But I think you're right with like our stores in terms of being very different, and we have three, I think, very different styles of doing things. There are probably three different things that we focus on. Due to MySpace here, MySpace sounds like social media, but I don't have a lot of room. Um, Richie, I feel like you have ever growing rooms, um, but you may have a limit. No, you've obviously got your shed set up, but I just wondered if we talk about kind of what our model, I guess, is for Bricklink without giving too much away, and why we've gone down that route. Is it because of space? Is it because of interest? A lot of people talked early on about specializing, and somebody suggested that I could specialize as a Technic store. I'm glad I'm not counting Technic pins every single day. But what kind of style you have for your store?
I think that's an interesting point because when we first started out, it was I mean, when we very first started, it was just, oh, what do I have? What can I list to just put some numbers on this, in this software, and oh, look, I've got 100 lots and there's 500 pieces. But watching other people, being a part of the community on Facebook and whatnot, and just talking to other people about it, a lot of people they're like, yeah, I only buy and sell figures because figures are worth the most amount of money and there's the most profit if you know squish it down. Or some people will only do new sets. They don't want to have to touch the pieces. It's practically like running a retail store. You just have a sealed box. It's got a number, and you don't have to get your hands dirty. I don't think those people are real Bricklink stores, people who just have sealed sets. But that's just a hot take. What do they do?
Controversial.
They buy some sealed sets and put it on a shelf. I mean, no, I'm joking, or am I? And then people who do parts, but a lot of people just do the new. They just part out sets that open, put them on the store, which is I think where the majority is. I'd say it's probably what Bricklink was maybe not first intended for, but it has grown into that kind of. I feel like that is where it pushes people to part out, buy sets, part them out. Um, and then there's just the used stores, and I mean, you can do anything, and I think it's really great about that is no matter what you do on Bricklink, even though there are thousands of sellers in the world, everyone does it differently. Everyone has their own systems. Everyone sells their own things. We're all selling the same product, and it's all under the same title of Lego. But not everyone wants to buy, you know, the Power Miners Rock Monster. Not everyone wants to buy a 10,000 masonry, dark bluish grey 1x2 masonry bricks. Maybe Richie does. Not everyone wants to buy, 10,000 black Technic pins. For me, it was where we are now. I mean, we're a used parts store. That's what we do. We're only just coming back into new parts again and diversifying again into doing some part outs more to help the inventory item count, because I'm falling way behind. And every time I look at the inventory item count leaderboard and I see Richie all the way up in the top 5 or whatever he is, I get a bit discouraged. I get a bit, I got to catch up to him. I got to get back up there. But then I look at lot count and then I'm in the top 5, and it's all happy days. But I love the parts. I love them. That's where my job satisfaction comes from. I really enjoy getting into the dirt and finding the random, I don't know, the techni no the tree the oh what is it called, the palm tree piece with the four bars and the one bar sticking out in blue. Like I found that part the other day, and it's like, I don't know, it's like $30, and it's like, oh, look at that, $30 a whole, you know, in any other aspect, $30 is not a lot of money, but for a piece of plastic, it's sometimes shocking. Even $20. Like, I think that's so interesting. Um, and we just kind of kept on uploading and hashtag keep uploading. Uh, we followed, I went down the rabbit hole with contractors and whatnot, and there was, the guys out in the US, just a brick in the bucket, when they were still doing YouTube, they showed off their amazing contractor system, and they had, their A sort and their B sort. And the other thing was, we had so much bulk from when I first started. We had, 50, 60 kilos, and most of it was already it had some level of sort. And we stopped doing the buying a box of random Lego and resurrecting sets, because that was just taking a ridiculous amount of time. And I was like, we've got all these parts, we should upload them. And we just kind of became a used parts store, and we kept on uploading. And then I realized, oh crap, we're like really high in lot count, and we're becoming bigger and bigger in our range. And then it just became more of an obsession to just keep on growing that lot count. And I'm a bit discouraged again at the moment, because we're 1,000 lots below, because after Brickvention we sold so much, and I'm only just getting back into the rhythm of things, of uploading parts again. However, we have, now that we do markets, again, we're diversifying again, not just with the new parts, but with the used sets. We do our fancy packaging, which I got that idea from Atlanta Brick Co. We're doing our figures, and we've always been offered figure lots, and we've always done really well with them, because, and let's be honest, they're worth a lot of money, and they sell really well. So there's, that brings in a lot of revenue. Now we just do a bit of everything. I like it. We've got our foot in a couple of all the different like categories of what you can do. I've forgotten the original question, but
Well, you answered, I guess you're saying variety. You're doing everything,
yeah,
but predominantly used over new.
definitely.
What
Yeah.
what kind of makeup of like your store count is new versus used?
I'm pretty sure 25% is new and 75% is used, but I'm going to double check. And that's just from, because at the start we were parting out new sets, and we do them occasionally. And usually when you do a part out, it adds such a high item count that it becomes a considerable portion of your store. Let's go by condition. Okay, so we have, in value wise, it's about 80%, 20% for used and new, but for like item count, we're at 230,000 items in used and 80,000 items in new. So whatever that looks like in a percentage split, I couldn't tell you. Math is, I need to bring out the calculator, but I want to keep doing new as well, because if I don't, I'm not catering to that audience as well. And I suppose if I don't do it properly, like Richie would do, that's what, you're a mainly new parts store. I sometimes I feel like, why am I doing, one part out every couple of weeks? It's not worth it, if I'm not going fully into the new parts. I may as well should just put all my energy into used, and hopefully that will pay off. Then it's the other side, and the other shoulder, the other devil on my shoulder is like, no, keep doing new parts. It's, I don't, right now, there's not really, I mean, the plan is just to do everything, and to grow to a point where I have somebody managing each section. That's the idea. That's the goal. The goal at the moment is for me to do used parts. I'll manage that. Get somebody to do to manage the new parts inventory, parting out new sets, and that's like all they do. So I can get somebody, if they're fully into that, they're putting their 100% into that. I can get another person to go 100% into minifigure pieces. I can get another person to go 100% into figures. I can get somebody to do use sets. Um, this is long-term goal, but one day
No, it
maybe.
sounds good. And I think that's, it's as you're saying before as well, everyone's got a different makeup of a store.
Hmm.
And that's an interesting thing that I was having a chat with a friend about, that no store is the same. And so
Yeah.
when buyers are coming to your store as well, yes, there's an element of competition on Bricklink in terms of pricing and parts, but at the end of the day, everyone's still got a unique store. So, someone might be coming to your store to buy a particular part and they're adding on a whole bunch that they need for something, but that wasn't the reason they came. And yeah, it's always a variety. So, and Richie, you're mainly new.
Yeah, it's 95% new. And that's exactly the same in terms of the stock value as well. 95.5. Fluctuates a little bit. It might be a bit up this month. I've not done that calculation yet, but it's been pretty steady like that. Even when the used goes quick because it generally is Star Wars based, so tends to be easy sells. But yeah, new all the way. And I'm selling the used because it's sitting around and has been. And I know its provenance. I don't have to go through, clean it all and stuff like that. So it is easier. And as you know, I don't have the same system for the used as I do for the new, which kind of means it has to be limited to its contained kind of scale, which is suits me fine. But it does bring in customers, as you say, they might be buying some new and some used. Most orders actually have a proportion of both. It's quite rare these days that you get an all new order. I mean, it does happen, but there's always something in there. Someone's needing a part or something like that. But the model is pretty much based on um, raw parts as opposed to doing an awful lot of part outs. So pick a brick, things like that. Or if I can buy from other stores at a volume that allows me to achieve a 30% profit on every piece. So the way I kind of figure that out is I'm buying what I know from data sells well, as opposed to parting out whatever set it is and ending up with 400 brackets.
Exactly what Steve was talking about with brick metrics and the
Mm.
sell-through rate.
Yeah. So getting into that granular level of masonry bricks versus, two by fours, two by twos, those basics is where I would like to be able to build more because I think from a new point of view, you're not getting so many people completing sets, although you can kind of spot it, but you are getting mock builders.
Yeah.
So you get volume orders of a couple of thousand parts more regularly because people can't buy bulk of a lot of parts that are quite basic because everyone snaps them up. So kind of that's the sweet spot that working towards, but equally conscious of that lot count. So I do part outs, but they're generally a little test to see if those parts go quickly and then should be tried to be replenished.
We have, and I say we, that is mainly me at the moment with the 5-year-old, but just this wall that you see here is all my new parts. So I've actually only got nine drawers of new parts, maybe a couple others. I've got a couple of sort of flat organizers, and we're probably about 30% new, but I only sell about 25% new. 75% is generally used. But I do literally a variety. I'm trying to get as many different lots of as many different items as possible, and I don't have the space for bulk. So I don't even do part outs generally of more than 3 or 4 sets, unless they're quite small ones, because I just don't have the space. I can't fill up a bigger drawer than my biggest drawer is that for my new. Second, it goes over that, it goes in a big bulk bag, in a drawer, in a bucket, which is, 3 things to open before you're getting it uh, in an order. So that's mainly our model. I do a lot of the collectible series minifigures, not to scalp. I know there's a lot of people, we may talk about it later, about the Beastmasters at the moment going, but I generally buy one or two sealed boxes of the collectible series, always looking for discounts on those because I think the parts are really good. The parts are often newer parts than on any other set. They're specific to that minifigure or accessories. So I part out generally one of the boxes and then I list the other boxes minifigures. So I'll have two or three of the collectible series at any one time. And then as those sell, try and replenish that at the same time as doing lots of minifigure lots. And I do a heap of bulk sorting and have just started getting my unofficial contractor, which is our old neighbors. Shout out to Jack and Liam, who will eventually watch this. And they are sorting through tubs for me, and they keep 10% of whatever they sort. And that's had a pre-sort already. So I've tried to quickly sort through, pull out what I think is valuable. And then if they find anything super valuable, then good on them. And they're allowed to keep 10%. And I just sort of weigh it when it comes back. And as long as it's that 10% or close enough, they're very trustworthy, which is great. So that's kind of my model at the moment. And that's how I see scaling it. Um, because my issue is just getting parts in the store. And at the moment, there's just this sitting in tubs. Um, and so I'm real picky about my Lego hauls. I'm looking for good condition, if possible, any type of pre-sort by item type. So I got a nice big haul about two or 3 months ago where it was literally sorted into part type for $10 a kilogram. So yeah, that was a dream. Shout out to the old man for that one as well. And so that's kind of my model of I can't have lots of stock, so I want to be cycling through quite regularly. So offering some type of sale or discount or repeat customers is really important. But also, as I'm sure everyone finds, you have people that buy just directly from you, which is awesome. And I've got a couple of people who, one person's up to about their 35th order because you gave them good service and they just want to buy from you and they find parts from your store that's going to fit in with their mock or they're going to do whatever. And that's the Lego community in New Zealand. We've got such a variety of mock builders, of army builders, of theme collectors, of minifigure collectors. It's such a variety that you need to have a variety store to survive. And at this point in time, unless I'm mistaken, there's nobody doing it full time here. So we are all a bunch of part-time hobby stores, um, and so it's getting the variety in is the trickiest part. So the better we can get people to help us putting parts in the store, the better the orders come in.
Is there anything that you stay away from that you're like, other people can do that, but we all seem to do, we've got our things that we focus on but we've got a couple we do a little bit of a little other stuff. But is there anything that you'll be like, no, I don't want to sell that. That's not what I want to do. It's not what I want to be. I mean, it's an odd question, but
No, I think it's a valid one. Like I've mentioned earlier, I think that I don't sell sealed sets really. I'll flick off the gift with purchases when I get them, when I've got it for a part out or buying direct from Lego, but I don't have the space. So that's a space constraint. And because we don't have the space for storing any sets, there's no point trying to sell them. I am starting to look at doing sort of maybe redone sets for a craft market type thing. Again, that could be just an extra little bit of a clearing out stock and bringing new stuff, but I try and stay away from that. I was staying away from Technic pins. However, in my most recent haul, I just found ones that were worth $5 each, and there were 20 of them. So
those black Technic pin
yeah,
half,
yeah.
half pin half axles. Oh yeah.
And I don't know if any have sold yet, but just the fact that I found a Technic pin worth that. But then I know other people who regularly replenish bulk Technic pins and look to buy them from overseas sellers. You get a lot of German stores that seem to get it really cheap. I was watching a video the other day of somebody going into some of the Lego lands in Deutschland and Germany and clearing out everything and taking big handfuls, and I was just like, oh, this is why I love Lego. Not so much to build it, but to go into these shops and just take handfuls from a drawer like I'm a kid at a lolly store and just run out. I probably would run out the store as well, and then probably get arrested or something. But I obviously pay for it first. But that kind of thing. So I try and avoid anything that's going to be too cumbersome. And then I decided to do lots of parting out of used sets and bulk lots. So hey, go figure.
I
Richie.
haven't I haven't stayed away from anything. Obviously, buying that store last year, was it last year? Kind of, it came with its own variety of stuff that probably I would never have parted out. There was manuals that, there didn't seem to be many parts for those sets, and there was this, that, and the other that you'd kind of never probably buy that I would probably never go near because it just wasn't my thing. Kind of having a, a better understanding of Star Wars stuff. I'm quite comfortable understanding the value in that, but when you start to break out into creator sets or other things, yeah, there's nothing that I've stayed away from because of that, because it allows to test to see what sells. And I don't know who coined the phrase originally, everything sells eventually, but it does. And then you go, oh, I could do with some more of that because that's actually really good. So
It
I
is.
just see everything as an opportunity to see what has a potential sell-through rate. So something that could be bought in a larger quantity next time, see how that goes, and then onwards and onwards to the point where these bigger 5 litre tubs become solely one part.
Everything does sell eventually.
The weird and the wonderful.
Yeah. Um, I suppose I asked that question. I mean, I want to do everything, but the one thing that I will stay away from that I've actively chosen to do is damaged, B grade damaged figure part, mainly figure parts, because that's usually what people are. If people are going to sell something damaged, it's going to be a figure or a figure part. I I understand why some people would do it. Some of the smaller stores who have, they're doing it as a hobby and they don't want things lying around. They don't have a space to off the damaged stuff in bulk. So they don't want it just sitting around. May as well just list it on the store. I've got it here. Let's put it in the drawer, get it away. I'll sell it for a bit cheaper. I'll put some comments on it. For us though, it's the time that it takes to write those comments and not that I live my life in fear of the negative feedback, but let's be honest, a little bit of me lives in fear of the negative feedback. So I figured, no pun intended, I figured that let's just be the store that doesn't have. Oh, that's the other thing that you'll notice in our stores. I mean, 95% of the stuff that we list doesn't have comments outside of our sets, and some expensive minifigures that will have like excellent condition. Nothing has comments, and that's because we just want to be known as the used store that sells good parts. That's it. It's good. There's no question about it. It's good. If it's bad, it doesn't get listed. The only time that I'll stray from that is if it's a very valuable part, of course. If I find I today I sold a Captain Rex head for $30, and it had some nicks on it. And I had listed that for $30, and it's like a $60 head. So 50% off. Like I'll sell things. If I am going to sell something that's damaged, that's high value, it's going to be 50% off to get it out the door. The other thing that we'll do is I've actually got some stuff lying around here. Got a Coleman Trebor, and I've got two Samakais. All three of these, I did have a Cody here before. All of these are B grade damaged damaged figures that they're complete. I don't want to, and they're good value. They're valuable stuff. So I don't want to I don't want to just chuck these into my damaged figure parts. But they're not valuable enough for me to want to list them on the store. So I now have, I've got a few people who will buy those, you know, damaged figures, and they list them on their store. And I know that, and I price them so they can make money. Um, and it's just, I can get it gone. In my mind, it's like, I'm not doing anything with them, so they can just sit there. The other thing that we've just done is we've found somebody to we can be the supplier of B grade figure parts. So all of our B grade figure parts, other than the Star Wars stuff, gets sorted into category. It's just, headgear, heads, torsos, legs, anything B grade, and we sell it per kilo to another company that uses it. Um, so I'm we're in luck that we found somebody to take all of that from us. They reached out to us mainly because we have so much of it and we get so much of it. I was selling it on eBay. I was doing auctions for it. But in regards to selling it on the Bricklink store, nah, just easier not to do it. The one other thing, the last reason that I do that is when I'm consolidating, I don't want to have to filter through three of the same parts that have three different comments and list the good condition one with the good condition ones and have to manually list those. So I'd rather have there's only one used lot and one new lot. There's no comments. Easy as I can just consolidate it and it's a quick process. Talking about space, the drawers that I've got behind me, these larger ones, I've just they're full. I don't know what to do. I was just about to do an upload of I was just about to attack the tires and I started pulling out bags and there's I've got it's not that many quantity but they're so big it takes up a full 5 liter Ziploc bag full of one kind of wheel and I'm just like well they're not fitting in a bloody drawer and then I go to put them in here and I have no drawers left. So I have no idea where I'm going to put another wall of these because I might have to get rid of the shelves down below and double up or something. But like even that is that making me money? Like this is wheels. This is all the standard city bloody.
There's a lot. They
You've
do
just
sell
actually
though.
you've triggered me a little bit with those, and I just realized I generally don't add vehicle parts to my story. That
This is the
for the
first time that we've
yeah.
to do vehicle parts, not only wheels, but we just sent out 60 kilos of vehicle parts, that category. It's going to be the first time we upload it because they're just so bulky and I take up so much space and they're not worth anything. But this makes me so happy because when somebody comes into the shed and I bring this drawer out, I know I'm not going to sell these probably, but it's it's like having my own pick-a-brick in my
Yeah.
house. It's great. But whether
But you
this
just
is
don't have to, you don't pick it that off.
I've had these wheels. Well, I did a massive upload the other day, but I I probably had, maybe a third, oh no, maybe a quarter of these sitting in a bin. And when I went to consolidate, usually I'm thinking, oh, okay, usually common parts, I don't have to consolidate them because they are common, but the common parts sell, your one by plates, your two by bricks, whatever. Even getting down to like tiles, other common pieces and categories. And that is a very common piece. It doesn't bloody sell. So when I consolidated and I checked when I first listed them to see if I'd ever run out, and I've had these tires since the beginning of the brick shed, since we opened. It was literally not our open day, but that month when I first uploaded those tires, and they've never sold out. So I
Here's
might
my
have sold one or two, but
here's my prediction.
is
When
your
you put all the other vehicle parts in,
yeah
they will sell like hotcakes. Because every time I do a Speed Champions part out, the tires go, the wheels go, the wheel arches go, and other bits,
yeah.
people completing other Speed Champion sets or vehicles. I think it's one of those weird categories that sells if you've got the other parts
Hmm.
that live with it, if you know what I mean.
Well,
Yeah, I find like tire rims and things are generally pretty good for me. Particularly used, I find wheels and tire parts really hard to identify initially. So my concern, kind of like is I don't want to misupload something thinking I've sold it. Like I did very early on, I sent a 16 by 16 plate to somebody instead of a base plate, because that's how rookie I was, and learned the hard way. So, mm,
well, talking about the tire variants, it is the only reason why we haven't sent them out to be sorted, because the 60 kilos of vehicle parts that we sent out maybe a week ago, those 60 kilos are from maybe 2 years ago. That's 2 years of collected vehicle parts. The wheels, not so much, because about 9 months ago we had a massive tub of wheels. I don't know how many kilos, maybe 30 kilos, and I just put them on Facebook and I just sold them because I didn't have a contractor who was able to file them successfully, and I wasn't bloody gonna do it. But finally, I've gotten a guy who does really good filing, and he knows his variants. So he's done the tires and he's doing the vehicle parts. But those tires have 3-part variants, and he messaged me. He said, "Look, I've got all of these. Do I need to separate them into the 3 types?" And I went and checked the variants, and I just said, "No, mate, you're okay. It's all right. Don't do it." And I've uploaded them as uh variant. It could be either of the variants. So, which I never do because I love listing the different variants because it adds a new lot, but not for that. Not for 5 cent tires. Sorry, guys. I apologize. If you wanted the correct variant, send me a message and I'll pull the right one out, but not going to do
As I
it.
say, all we need now is for all the mock builders of the world to find the part that Noah's got in bulk and please generate a big giant statue of them that someone would like to order so that we can he can clear the stock. So
I
if
was
you're
thinking
listening,
somebody should build a racetrack and they can use them to like
Firewalls.
that's yeah. That's what
yeah,
I was thinking if I was going to use them.
Well, with all these Formula One sets, you never know.
There we go.
Maybe you could do a little YouTube video about
This is
suggested uses for tires.
this is going to be the this is the okay, whoever is watching this right now, come buy my tires. They're good. They're a good deal. I think I've got the largest quantity or the second largest quantity in Australia last time I checked. So,
yeah.
but
Let us know in the comments below. What does Noah need to do for you to buy his tires?
Well, you're going to
This
get
is an
some.
important question that we need to have answered.
song, I need to do a song, a dance,
Jingle,
the
People just say make them cheaper.
yeah,
make them cheaper is a good one. Yeah.
Although, fun fact, Lego is the largest tire manufacturer in the world,
that is true. Yeah, there you
Mhm.
go.
and Noah has most of them.
Okay, well, that's all we could come up with for the first podcast. And make sure that you click that subscribe button, particularly if you've made it to this part of the video, and comment below some feedback. We'd love to know what the community would like us to talk about and share on. So if you've got any ideas, please do comment below. If you want to buy Noah's Power Miner, please do. If you're after some tires, please do. Richie's probably about 4 part outs through in this video, and if you're in New Zealand, I'm sure we're probably about a kilometer away from each other. So, come for a visit and like that video, all those good things. But lads, thank you very much for the chat today, and
Guys,
see you in the next pod.
see you guys.
Pleasure as always.